The following video contains footage from the Endwalker Media Tour. As such, this footage is not representative of the final product, and you will find significant differences both visually and elsewhere. I do remind you, please do not take this as the final version, but at the same time, thank you to Square Enix for providing me with this opportunity, and I hope you enjoy this. Oh boy, here we are with warrior changes. I know exactly what you want to see in motion here, and I'm running low on the footage I can show, but here we go. I'm going to show you how to become one with the Fell Cleave. Of course, we're talking about Primal Rend that you just saw, one of our new spells, 3 new spells for Warrior. We have, of course, Bloodwetting, Orogeny, and Primal Rend. We'll talk about those in the tooltip section in just a second, but look how beautiful this is in motion. Oh, it's such a powerful hit, isn't it? Such a powerful hit. Warrior in this build felt really good, by the way. That's just my sort of like preface to all of this. Yeah, so this is just a demonstration before we get on. But you can use Tomahawk now without using your combos. You don't lose your combo status when you use Tomahawk now. So for multiple encounters, this is going to be really useful. Anyway, as much as I'd love to keep showing footage of that, let's move on to the tooltip changes before we get into trouble for using too much footage, which we're fine. I'm calculating that down to the millisecond, so we'll be absolutely fine. We've not gone too far into our 45 minutes yet. I think we've got a couple of minutes left of footage left to use in editing. Right, so for the Warrior tooltips, we have some quite nice treats, but it's more of a sort of like, let's make Warrior more awesome, but keep it sort of familiar setup, which is really the direction I was hoping for anyway. So bear in mind then that all tooltips are not final, and whilst we will read the potencies in this video, they're likely not going to stay the same. You should not base your experience or planned experience on these numbers. They're not final. This is a development build, yada yada yada. Disclaimer aside, pretty much everything in this now has a recast timer of 2.46 seconds, so we will mention it occasionally, but you can bear that in mind. Basically, that's up from the 2.38 second recast on live servers. So that's the main change. So now I'm going to read only what's changed. If I miss out on ability, it basically didn't change, apart from presumably that recast timer adjustment. Okay? Okay, so Maim then, potency change. This attack now delivers with a 130 potency, and also has a combo potency from using heavy swing of 280. So that's up 30 attack potency and down 40 potency on the combo. So it hits harder and has on its attack, but less for the actual combo. Berserk then now drops to a 60-second recast timer from 90 on live servers, which is nice, but also now grants 3 stacks of Berserk, with each stack guaranteeing weapon skill attacks are going to be critical and direct hits. This lasts for 30 seconds and also has the additional effect of extending Surging Tempest duration by 10 seconds to a maximum of 60 seconds. This is quite a bit of a different take from the live servers, so basically on live at the moment you have 10 seconds to deliver as many attacks as you can, and all of them are pretty much guaranteed direct hits and criticals, but now it's basically your next 3 spells from pressing it, which is quite interesting, and they seem to be doing this quite a lot with jobs, so it remains to be seen how that feels in the end. Overpower had a potency drop then to 110, down from 130, so it's lost 20 potency there for your frontal cone ability that you attack on your enemies. This also has the 2.46 second recast timer. Defiance remains the same. Tomahawk then drops down to 100 potency from 140 on the live servers, but at the same time, as you saw me mention earlier, it won't interrupt your combos anymore, so that's pretty awesome, so you can actually use it if you're on multiple targets without worrying. Storm's Path then, the only change here is the 2.46 second recast timer, and the main attack potency is 120, down from 100 on live servers, and the combo potency is 400, down from 420. Again, there are reasons for potency changes on every job, and without playing it extensively, there's no point in dwelling on them too much. This has happened across the board with all the tanks, actually, so they're kind of bringing them in line. Aside from that, it does the exact same that it used to. Storm's Eye then has a potency of an attack from to 120, which is actually up from 100 on live servers, and the potency of a combo with Maim is down to 400 from 420. So let's move on to job actions now. So Inner Beast hits with a potency of 330, down from 350. That's the only change there. Mithril Tempest still hits with an AoE of 100 potency, but now the combo from Overpower is a 150 potency attack, down from 200. Aside from that, you'll notice it grants Surging Tempest, which increases damage dealt by 10%, which is quite different from how it was before with extending Storm's Eye. So this adds quite a bit more of a punch to AoE damage in practice for sure. Steel Cyclone is down to 170 potency on that AoE, down from 220. Infuriate's basically the same. Fell Cleave now has a potency of 460, down from 590, but everything else is basically the same about it, apart from that 2.46 second recast timer. Raw Intuition is quite a big change, actually. Now it reduces the damage taken by 10%, down from 20% on live servers for the 6 seconds. But now it actually has an additional effect as well with that 10% reduction, that kind of nerf there, which actually restores health with every weapon skill successfully delivered, which is kind of nuts. So every hit is going to heal me when that's up, which is awesome. This has a cure potency of 400 as well, which isn't really that bad. Very reasonable amounts of healing. And honestly, I think I prefer this to the extra 10% damage reduction it used to have. Survivability and healing is something that goes hand in hand, but I think this is a little bit stronger, and we'll have to wait and see, but it feels like it. Equilibrium now restores your own health, HP, with a potency of 1,200 still, same as on the live servers, but now it inflicts a healer over time on you as well, a buff. This has a cure potency of 200 and lasts for 15 seconds, so they just made Equilibrium even better than it was previously. Lots more survivability, which you'll see from a lot of these tooltips, which is sorely needed and welcomed. Onslaught now rushes to the target and hits with a potency of 150, up from 100 on the normal servers, and no longer costs Beast Gauge. Hallelujah! Now it just has 3 charges that you can use whenever you want. This is a great change with an increased charge time of 30 seconds, up from the old recast of 10 seconds, which makes sense because there's 3 charges of it. I love this change. I think that's going to be really useful to actually use that now. More movement, more less excuses not to. Upheaval now hits with a potency of 350 on this build, down from 450 on the live servers, and also no longer costs the Beast Gauge either. But it does now share a recast timer with a new ability we'll get to in a second called Orogeny. Inner Release got changed, and now it's on a 60-second recast. It grants 3 stacks of Inner Release, each stack allowing the use of Beast Gauge actions without cost and guaranteeing that all attacks are critical and direct hits. It also now nullifies Sleep, Stun, Bind and Heavy, much like before, and most knockback, and draw-in effects for 30 seconds, and this also extends the Surging Tempest duration by 10 seconds to a maximum of 60 seconds. So realistically, the biggest change here then is that you have 3 stacks rather than 10 seconds to spam buttons during that time. Honestly, they kind of seem to be doing this with most jobs in the game. They actually did this with Thin Air on White Mage as well, but it seems to be the planned direction they're going for, which is more of a skill-based system rather than just spamming any button during a duration, which I actually kind of like. Nascent Flash's tooltip is now enormous. This is still instant cast on that 25-second recast timer. This now grants Nascent Flash to self and Nascent Glint to a targeted party member, as it did before. This now restores health with each weapon skill successfully delivered with a cure potency of 400. The Glint restores HP equaling 100% now of that recovered by Nascent Flash, while also reducing damage taken by 10%. So from the original being only 50% recovered on live servers to 100%, that's huge. This also lasts 8 seconds, up from 6 previously. And additionally to all that, it now grants the Stem of Flow buff to the target of choice, reducing their damage by 10% for 4 seconds, and now grants Stem of Tide to them as well, nullifying damage equivalent to a heal of a 400 potency heal for 30 seconds, sharing a cooldown then with the new skill Bloodwetting. They have made this ability insanely cool now. 100% of the hit is recovered, 2 buffs on a target of the usual 10% reduction in damage taken, plus that new 400 potency shield. Amazing stuff, and this is going to make Nascent Flash even more useful than it already is. So you may wonder what the Bloodwetting ability is. Well, I just mentioned it. Let's look at it now. This is the new spell you get at level 82. Bloodwetting then is an instant cast on a 25-second recast timer ability, which reduces damage taken by 10% for 8 seconds. This also restores the health with your HP with every weapon skill successfully delivered with a cure potency of 400, granting, yes, you guessed it, Stem of the Flow, which is the 10% reduction buff for 4 seconds, granting Stem of the Tide as well to yourself, putting a barrier around your own self that absorbs damage equivalent to a heal of 400 potency for 30 seconds. So it's basically Nascent Flash. Nascent Flash is your off-tank ability, and Bloodwetting is for yourself exclusively, so more useful when you're main tanking or when you have a target on you and you need those heals and shields more than the other guy. Very useful to have the ability to switch between Nascent Flash and Bloodwetting when you so desire. Obviously, this does share its cooldown with Nascent Flash, though, so obviously you'd choose whichever one you need for that particular encounter and what you're doing, which is really, really useful for many different situations. And yeah, that's really quite a nice bonus, isn't it? Okay, so the second new ability we talked about is Orogeny. This is a instant cast ability with a recast of 30 seconds. This delivers an attack with a potency of 150 to all nearby enemies. This shares a recast time with Upheaval and is available at level 86. Primal Rend then. This is our new favourite button as Warrior, available at level 90. This is an instant cast with a recast of 2.46 seconds, delivering a critical direct hit to the target and all nearby enemies with a potency of 700 for the first enemy and 70% less for the remaining enemies. Stacks of Inner Release are not consumed upon execution, but can only be executed under the effect of Primal Rend Ready, which is a buff granted when you actually press Inner Release. The fact that you can Fell Cleave 3 times then pop this out is going to be a really nice damage increase. Very cool, and it is a really flashy, cool looking ability with that overhead cleave. Become the Fell Cleave today. I love it. So back to minor changes then, sadly, but still really good. Chaotic Cyclone now does a critical direct hit with a potency of 320 to nearby enemies, down from 400 on live servers, but does the same pretty much everywhere else on this tooltip, aside from that 2.46 second recast timer. Inner Chaos now has a potency hit of 650, which is down from 920 on live servers, but the rest is the same. And you'll find it's not just Warrior that kind of got these potency changes and what appears to be nerfs or what weird changes. They are all across the board, including tanks. I'm sure it will feel absolutely great in the final game, and you shouldn't really dwell on the numbers too much. In my limited time playing Warrior, I absolutely loved it at 90. So there is that. But before we get carried away, let's look over the traits then. Basically, there are no changes to anything we had previously. That's the first thing. But we have some new additions to read through. Firstly, we have Enhanced Shake It Off. This is new. This adds a healing effect to Shake It Off with a potency of 300. This is available at level 76 then, so at 76 onwards, Shake It Off will now heal you, which is really nice. More survivability added to the toolkit. Very nice. Raw Intuition Mastery is new, upgrading Raw Intuition to Bloodwetting at level 82, just a rank upgrade as we talked about earlier. Enhanced Nascent Flash then at level 82, granting that Stem of the Flow 10% damage reduction for 4 seconds, and a Stem of the Tide buff to a target nullifying damage equivalent to 400 potency heal for 30 seconds. Yeah, so you get that at level 82. Enhanced Equilibrium then at level 84, granting that heal over time to yourself for a potency of 200 for 15 seconds. Melee Mastery is a new trait, increasing the potency of Heavy Swing to 200, Maim to 130, Storm's Path to 120, and Storm's Eye to 120, and that's available at level 84. So we're getting lots of potency increases the higher level we get, which is how we want our power creep to feel. We want to become stronger as we level, right? And finally, enhanced Onslaught at level 88, allowing for that third charge of Onslaught. But there we go. That's pretty much Warrior in a nutshell. All in all, I love the new survivability options, and tagging heals and shields to things is really nice, but also Warrior feels more fluid and resourceful than before, especially with the Tomahawk changes, means that there's more uptime for your rotation without penalization, and honestly this could very easily be my main tank when I play the role. I've always loved Warrior, but recently I've been a little bit more of a meh sort of feeling in Shadowbringers, but this kind of feels like a return to the days where I loved it more. It seems a little bit stronger, and I do like the new damage rotation with that massive primal rend at the end. Very nice. Anyhow, let me know what you think below. Take potencies with a pinch of salt, please. Don't dwell on those too much in terms of commenting about them. They're probably going to change very quickly. Nothing is final, as we said. So let me know your feelings based on everything we talked about in terms of abilities, and I'll see you all next time. Thank you very much.